Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Please be seated. Let's do a roll call.
Yeah, Councilmember Rye.
Rye?
Here.
Councilmember Foreman.
Here.
Can't hear you behind the mask.
Well, you know I'm saying their names. Councilmember Totino.
Present.
Supervisor Alvaro.
Here. I got no amendments to the agenda. I'll make a motion to accept the agenda. Can I have a second?
Second.
No,
No? Okay.
we are gonna, on number 3.
You
Are you
talking
talking
the-
about the previous agenda?
You talking the accreditation?
Yeah.
We'll table it when we get to it.
We'll get to it, okay.
Yep.
All right.
Next up is acceptance of minutes, the town board regular meeting, February 21st and March 6th. I present that as a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next up is the public hearing on local law to enact a new town code chapter entitled utility poles, also known as zombie poles. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So now here's your opportunity to talk about poles, zombie poles that are in your neighborhood. Anybody wish to speak about that? We've gotten significant complaints about poles not being properly maintained. In the last couple of months, I knocked down one pole that was replaced and about 4 that had wires hanging. So I want to make it a little more efficient for the residents to understand this. And anybody have a comment? Any board members? Can I close it?
Other than this is isn't Senator Skoufis kind of leading the charge on this?
Yes, yes. So we had one citizen across the street in Forge Brook. Central Hudson put a new pole and left the old one there. And then you have to go through the list of the providers on there. So Central Hudson left, Verizon left, and Optimum was at the last one standing, and that person is responsible to get rid of the pole. We got rid of that pole, and then all of a sudden you start driving around, you start looking at poles and see things hanging, and we took care of about 3 others, and we want to make a local law on it. So that's the intent of the law. Mr. Malvarosa?
Robert Malvarosa. I've been town 35 years. I guess is that what it is that not the original owners of the poles, but the last entity that's going to be leaving off the pole? So like if it's Optum or Verizon?
Yeah,
or
so let's say there's a pole there now, and then they put a new pole, and they move all the wires to the other pole. The last person that takes off their pole is responsible for removing it. So
Yeah,
one of them took me like 4 months to get rid of, and one was like a week.
They've cut them like part way,
Yeah.
left half poles, that's what we're calling the zombie poles? Like
Yes,
just hanging around.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So we're trying to clean that up. And
Yeah,
it's going-
everybody was kind of discussing it in the neighborhood because, yeah, it's unfortunate.
That one person on,
Yeah.
right in the corner there, we took care of her,
Yeah.
the family there.
There's a state senator from Orange County who kind of leading the charge on this.
Okay.
And it's really just keeping the utilities cognizant of getting rid of the poles.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
Yep. Any board members? Make a motion to close the public hearing. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's done. Do we have any new employees today? No. Next up is privilege of the floor for general town items. This is the opportunity to speak about anything regarding the town of Fishkill. Ma'am?
Hello, I'm back.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, so my name is June Sorensen Jenny. I live in Dutchess County, and I have been a resident of New York State all of my life. I'm a volunteer with New York Citizens Audit, and I'm not a spokesperson. New York Citizens Audit is part of United Sovereign Americans, which is a nationwide organization with thousands of active volunteers in over 20 states. Today I come to you as a concerned citizen sharing alarming information about our state's voter database, uncovered through thousands of hours of research conducted by our highly qualified and credentialed data team. While the numbers are staggering and somewhat difficult to comprehend, one thing is clear: they don't add up. Just like your checkbook must balance, so must our votes. If you had $10,000, fewer dollars in your bank account than you had deposited, you would certainly want to know what happened. And if a company that had a significant discrepancy in their books, they would most certainly conduct an audit. In fact, yearly audits are required by law for all public companies. Our audit of 2022 election, using only official data provided by state election officials, showed that the 2022 election may not have been accurate or legally compliant. We are not saying one candidate won over another or that any election should be overturned. The state's official data from a certified election shows that votes, as counted, were not all valid and accurate under the law. Tonight, we will present you with a resolution demanding an end to the inaccuracy and uncertainty plaguing our elections, along with a summary of our findings and the laws that apply. We are happy to meet with you to go over this information, including more detail about the specific findings. If you have questions that I cannot answer now, I will commit to getting you the answers in writing from the New York State Citizens Audit and the United Sovereign Americans executive team as soon as possible. This data and our request for an investigation has been shared with state election officials and law enforcement. It's essential that you, our representatives, make it clear that these issues must be taken seriously. Today we come to you, our closest elected representatives, for support for this action and action. We are asking that you listen to the resolution, ask questions if you have them, and then vote promptly for its passage. Your action on this resolution will illustrate your dedication and support to the concerns of your constituents and your country. Thank you. Our next three speakers will read the resolution in 3 parts, and our final speakers will conclude our presentation. And just real quick, I have the resolutions with me.
Okay.
Good evening. Resolution for a legally valid 2024 general election.
Sir, what's your name for the record?
Carmine Mortuono.
Could you spell the last name?
Sure, Mirtuono.
Are you a resident, local?
I'm a Dutchess County resident.
Okay.
Resolution for a legally valid 2024 general election. Whereas it is a recognized civil right in the United States for every citizen to have free and fair elections. And the right of suffrage can be denied by debasement or dilution of the weight of a citizen's vote just as effectively as by wholly prohibited the free exercise of the franchise. Reynolds v. Sims, 377, U.S. Supreme Court, 533, 1964. Whereas it is the duty of our election officials to guarantee our elections are accurate and free from distortion or manipulation. Congress seeks to guard the election of members of Congress against any possible unfairness by compelling everyone concerned in holding the election to a strict and scrupulous observance of every duty devolved upon him while so engaged. The evil intent consists in disobedience to the law. In Recoy 127, U.S. Supreme Court, 731, 1888. Whereas our constitutional system of representative government only works when the following 4 tenets of an election are upheld. 1, the voter rolls must be accurate. National Voter Registration Act of 1993. 2, votes counted must be from eligible voters. U.S. Constitution, 14th Amendment, Section 2. The number of votes counted must equal the number of voters who voted. 4, there can be no more than 1 in 125,000 ballots in error by the voting system. Help America Vote Act, 2002. Whereas an open source audit of the New York State 2022 general election conducted by New York Citizens Audit has uncovered evidence of massive inaccuracies that appear to violate both federal and state laws, including 5,142,950 ineligible or uncertain registration violations found within the New York State voter roll database. 732,359 votes cast by ineligible or uncertain registrants. 35,312 more votes counted than voters who voted. No one knows who cast them. 246,000 apparent voting violations in excess of legal standard system accuracy for a valid federal election. Maximum allowable system errors for the 2022 general election in New York State was 48. Certification as defined by law and attestation of accuracy and compliance appears to have been fraudulent and illegal.
Good evening. My name is Michael Helm. And continuing on with what Carmen started, whereas these findings trample legal accuracy requirements of the voting system during a federal election, accuracy is defined as the ability of the system to capture and report the specific selections and absence of selections made by a voter without error. Whereas the intent of the voters must be known factually before certification can be lawfully conducted, certification of an election that varies from the law is an abridgment of the civil rights of the citizens, a fraud ab initio. United States v. Throckmorton, 98 U.S. 61, 1878. Whereas New York's 2022 general election appears to have been invalid, depriving us of the guaranteed protection of our natural rights under a government duly and provably chosen by us, the American people, resulting in incalculable damage to our families, our way of life, and the fabric of these United States. Therefore, we call upon our representatives to provide relief to the people and the assurance of domestic tranquility by joining us in demanding a valid 2024 general election that upholds these existing laws and equitable principles of law. Number one, proof of citizenship and identity to register and vote, not anonymous attestation. 2, documented chain of custody on every ballot regardless of entry source, maintained from voter to vote count to final canvass. 3, secure ballots similar to currency, whereby imaging technology is used for tabulation. The security features must be verifiable in the image. Voter rolls, number 4, voter rolls certified accurate 30 days before the start of early voting. Voters added after that date must bring proof of citizenship, identity, and address in person to a qualified official at each polling place. 5, systems, machines, security measures, procedures, infrastructure, policy, and conduct are required to be compliant with the law regarding certification, testing, operational validation, and operational implementation. Any breach will require an adequately strong audit to verify measured outcomes were within 10% of the margin of victory at a 95% probability. Number 6, a scientifically randomized audit of real ballots must be performed and meaningfully witnessed, proving the error rate is smaller than 10% of the margin of a victory. Otherwise, a fully witnessed hand count must be performed. All parties with more than 10% of the vote shall have full and effective observation rights. Thank you.
Mr. Gilbert, see if he's still with that. Are you with those? Okay, go on.
Good evening, town board members. Thank you for your time letting us speak. My name is John Ellsworth. I'm a Dutchess County resident. As I begin, I just want to reiterate that these are existing voter laws that help keep election integrity in place. Number 7, election operations and systems must maintain end-to-end chain of custody from voter to vote count to final canvass, including audibility and witness transfer with paper records. Adjudication must be signed off by party witnesses and candidate witnesses with full and effective observation rights. Candidates must be allowed immediate access to ballots, images, and CVRs. Candidates may agree to use party witnesses solely at their discretion. End-to-end audits must be allowed by qualified, insured, and bonded security, forensics, or financial auditors. These shall not be personnel from within election system. Reconciliation will include the vote count, ballots, adjudication, CVRs, ballot count, voter count, custody transfer, and all other paper and electronic systems, including system logs, if applicable. The aggrieved party must be allowed to select their own auditor. If the total of all unique variances above is more than 10% of the margin of victory, a new election must be held in the state for those candidates affected unless it can be provably corrected by a manual hand recount with a full review of records. Number 11, and the last one. Waiver of requirements is not allowed. Only end-to-end system compliance can guarantee the intent of the people is accurately recorded. Just obey the law.
My name is Liz Seary. I'm too short. I live in Dutchess County and have been a resident of New York my entire life. I am also a volunteer and not an official spokesperson with the New York Citizens Audit. You just heard a powerfully written resolution outlining massive inaccuracies in our 2022 election, from registration through certification. In it, you heard us ask for meaningful remedies that will proactively protect the validity of the 2024 general election for all Americans. In fact, the resolution cited many U.S. Supreme Court precedents that support the need for such actions. Laws are being ignored. Bottom line, the checkbook is not balancing and we need certainty. The voting system, which controls our most vitally important right, the right to choose our representatives, is not producing an accurate, trustworthy result. Do you think that these anomalies within our election system, a system which is part of our national security infrastructure, should continue to be ignored? How much is it costing us not to fix the problem? How much is it costing our GDP, our military, our foreign policy, our health, the self-esteem of our children and young people? And how much is it costing our dignity to keep fighting each other? The cost is immeasurable, so I urge you to show your agreement by passing the resolution. Our website, showcasing our initiatives statewide, has some great videos that explain the anomalies and apparent violations of law that are found in New York State. The website for New York Citizens Audit is auditny.com. That's auditny.com. I encourage you to check it out and learn more about our group. One more time, it's auditny.com. And if you'd like to learn more about our national organization, United Sovereign Americans, our website is uniteforfreedom.com. That's unite, the number 4, freedom.com. Once more, that's unite, the number 4, freedom.com. Thank you very much for your time and attention tonight.
My name is Joy Bagetta, and I live in Dutchess County, and I am a lifelong resident of New York State. I am also a volunteer and not an official spokesperson with the New York Citizens Audit. What you heard tonight is a culmination of thousands of hours of work by our highly qualified and credentialed volunteer data team from New York State. Let's step back a second and look at the big picture. Large numbers of Americans, including many right here in Fishkill, have questions about the trustworthiness of our elections. I think we can all agree that we wish this not to be the case, but official data shows these concerns are valid, and the law says resolving them is essential in curing our liberty. At the same time, government representatives at all levels are not being transparent or responsive to what our citizens' audits have found. Our right to choose our representatives in legally valid and transparent elections is the foundation upon which our constitutional republic was established. That right has been bravely protected over the past 2.5 centuries by the sacrifices of our brothers, fathers, mothers, and sisters. You on this board tonight have a chance to show everyone who defended American liberty and the citizens you represent that you value it also by passing this resolution demanding a valid election in 2024. We appreciate your time and attention. Thank you.
Ms. Orson? You can bring that to me. Come to the podium. Has any other municipality passed any resolution that you requested?
I can tell you that I think it's 79 right now,
You have 79 resolutions
79
that people have voted on?
that they voted on and passed.
Okay.
We don't want to give out the names because we don't want them to get any type of retribution.
Well,
but
if
so
they
far,
pass a
79.
resolution,
It
it's
would be
public
online,
record.
yeah.
So can you give me the number? Can you send me an email, let me know the
I
municipality
believe
so I
it's
can check with them?
79. I can tell you the actual number. I believe it's 79.
And the name of the municipalities, please?
Excuse me?
And the name of the municipalities?
We can't give you the names.
Why not?
Excuse me?
We'll get different.
Okay.
You can give it to me.
Sure.
This is a little bit different than the last one you got.
Okay.
Just basically amending the law.
Ms. Sorensen, I do have a couple of questions about your organization, if you are able to answer.
Well, let anybody wish to speak about this?
Yeah.
Mr. Gilbert?
Paul Gilbert, Fishkill Woods. I just want to read a couple of brief comments by the Anti-Defamation League. The Sovereign Citizens Movement is a large anti-government extremist movement whose adherents believe the government is an illegitimate product of a conspiracy that subverted the original lawful government. They claim that people can take steps to divorce themselves from the illegitimate government, after which it has no authority or jurisdiction. Then I have something from the Southern Poverty Law Center. Sovereign citizens believe they are not under the jurisdiction of the federal government and consider themselves exempt from U.S. law. They use a variety of conspiracy theories and falsehoods to justify their beliefs and activities, some of which are illegal and violent. The Sovereign Citizens Movement continues to see membership growth in 2022. The QAnon conspiracy theory that initially brought new people into the movement has remained a gateway into the sovereign citizen. A new group, which calls itself Life Force Network, is a fusion of Q-centric conspiracy theories and science fiction and fake alternative government courts called sovereign citizens assemblies. Please don't be fooled. Thank you.
No, that's it.
You had a question. Did you want to answer the question from June, or?
You said you got 79, you said you were going to send them to me, right?
I-
Gentleman next to you had a question.
Yeah.
All right, what's your question?
If someone could, I'd just like to be able to ask. Just a few questions about the organization that you are participating in. It is called New York Citizens Audit,
New York Citizens Audit.
and it
yes.
is an affiliate of United Sovereign Americans, U4F?
Correct.
Okay. Are you aware the president of United Sovereign Americans is a gentleman by the name of Harry Horry?
I am.
You're aware that for the last 10 years plus, according to his LinkedIn page, he has direct financial and economic involvement in China.
I'd have to take that back and get an answer for you.
Do you have any comment on statements that he's made on right-wing extremist programs where he indicated that the objective of the movement was, in fact, quote, "We want to throw sand in the gears and we want to put sand in the gas tank," regarding American elections? Is there any comment you can give on that?
We will make note of what you have, since it's being recorded, and we'll answer us directly and right. How's that sound?
That is fantastic.
Can you provide a list of the questions to us?
Certainly, I'd be happy to. We've communicated by email in the past. I'll be happy to email
Yes.
you. Just appreciate the greater scale.
Okay.
Thank you.
So residents of Fishkill watching, your elections in the town of Fishkill are pretty secure, and I could see why people would get upset when one side loses and the other. In 2015, I lost a race for supervisor by 16 votes, and yes, I was upset. And I counted every single ballot that was out there, and guess what? I lost by 16 votes. Last November, one of the two judge candidates lost by 2 votes. 2 votes she lost in the town of Fishkill, former Councilwoman Jackie Bardini. She went up to Poughkeepsie and they counted votes, and guess what? She lost by 2 votes. So in the town of Fishkill and Dutchess County, I think you should be confident that your votes are being counted properly. So I just want to let you know that. The federal stuff, I can't tell you the truth, but my personal belief, my personal counting little ballots with the little dots, I lost by 16. I counted every single one, and I lost the first time. And this year in November, she lost by 2 votes.
I was at that recount too this year. And my question, to you, congratulations on getting 70 whatever municipalities,
Yeah.
9, okay. But have you gone to the county legislature and have you gone to the Board of Elections?
We have.
Because that's where the thrust of your activity, as far as I'm concerned,
You are
should
our
be.
closest representatives, and that's why we're appealing to you, because the elections affect every one of us. It's not party-based.
We do.
We are a 501c3 organization.
Yeah.
We're not party-affiliated.
I'm
We're
just-
not asking or expecting a overturn.
Please, can't hear you on TV. Microphone.
Yeah.
We are a 501c3 organization.
Sure.
We're purely volunteers. We are not looking to overturn an election.
Sure, no.
It affects every party. This is not a Republican, Democrat issue. This is an American issue.
Yeah.
Whether you lost by 2 votes or 15 or 100, what we found are many, many illegal, registered, or duplications, and laws have been broken that have not been followed, that may have affected your win or loss or anybody else's, whatever party you may be affiliated with. We're not saying we have sour grapes about an election loss for a candidate we wanted. This is truly an American issue, irregardless of your background and affiliation.
I'd like to just say, please don't feel that my questions were meant to question your sincerity or
No, not at all.
your individual integrity. Rather, that I know that whenever there's a local chapter or a group, when there's a larger force behind it at a larger national level, there may be different motives involved.
Understood.
And it appears at face value like the organization that you're part of has its roots in a 2020 election
The
denial.
roots is from a stay-at-home mom who's a homeschooler and a goat farmer who started this organization in the state of New York. That's the roots. And the rest of it are Americans.
Okay.
So we have no affiliation with any national party. We've become a national organization to help other states find the issues that we've uncovered in the state of New York's voter rolls. Like I stated, this
the
affects
president
everyone.
of your organization at the
I
national
can't-
level was on a
you-
podcast where a man said that election fraud is treason and treasoners should be shot or hanged. That's pretty extreme rhetoric, and you're
Treason
tied
is
to
treason,
that.
however that's defined, whatever the case may be. There are penalties for treason. That's irrelevant, what he may or may not have said. That's irrelevant. We're not here talking about treason. We're here talking about asking your help to support a resolution to have a valid 2024 general election. That is all we're asking for. We're not here, we're citizens. We're not attorneys, we're not investigators, we're made up of a variety of backgrounds. We're saying we have a problem in our country and certainly in our state. This is not about sending people to jail, it's about saving our country.
Yes, sir.
So I do agree with you that the cities, towns, and villages are the closest government to the people. But you have to remember that it's the county legislators who are the ones who are appointing the people at the Board of Elections all throughout the state of New York. So, we don't have a seat at the table with the Board of Elections.
That's why I asked the question, just did utilization of time might be better. I don't know.
Okay.
All right, anybody else have anything about town items? Ms. Anderson?
Hey, everybody. Bridget Anderson, Town of Fishkill. I received an email today from Joel Petras, who we all know is the building inspector. The email was requesting access to a file containing Healy's New York State DOT highway work permit application that I sent on February 21st to the town supervisor. I'm sorry. Joel was unable to open the document without my permission. I hate Google Docs. The supervisor had forwarded that email to Joel on February 22nd, and he copied me on that correspondence, so I know that that's what happened. Although I'm stunned it took him a month to open the file, I must say I'm not surprised. The 2009 Town Comprehensive Plan, in the 2009 Comprehensive Plan, is specifically stated that under objective number 2, connecting neighborhoods with sidewalks, bike paths, etc., that the zoning and subdivision regulations include provisions for complete streets with sidewalks, pedestrian paths, and bicycle lanes. It also recommended New York State DOT install sidewalks on both sides of Route 52. I bring up 2009 because that's when the Healy project started. It would have been under, excuse me, that comprehensive plan. Similar language is included in the update that was done in 2023. In the Town Code, Chapter 150, Part 2, Regulatory Provisions, Article 10, Site Development Plan Approval, it states that all applications, not everyone except Healy, all applications and plans to be submitted to the planning board shall comply with the town's complete streets policy and requirements. In reviewing the highway work permit submitted to New York State DOT by Healy, there's a section for complete streets in the Americans with Disabilities Act. It reads as follows. I just have to get my water, I'm sorry. I've been sick all week. I apologize. Projects must be designed to provide safe, convenient, accessible accommodations. This is one of those statements on the thing that he had to fill out. Projects must be designed to provide safe, convenient, accessible accommodations for all road users, including pedestrians, bicyclists, public transportation riders, where warranted in the public right-of-way. And he had two options to check. Number one, the proposed work will maintain or enhance accommodations for pedestrians, bicyclists, and/or public transit users in the public right-of-way. Or the second option was, the proposed work will have little or no effect on pedestrians, bicyclists, and/or public transit users in the public right-of-way. Mr. Healy checked the second box, which said that it had little or no effect. It's clearly not correct, and I personally find his response untruthful by checking that box. Within less than a quarter mile of the Healy dealership are the Town Recreation Center, the police station, and government offices. On the west side of 52, there are more than 563 residential units. And I did call up Google Maps, and I counted every one of those little boxes or on the property access thing. There's 563 units. That is well in excess of 1,000 residents. Those communities include Fishkill Woods, Fox Ridge, Green Hills, BGB, and The Views at Rocky Glen. Interestingly enough, when Fishkill Woods was built in 2010, they were required by the town to put in the sidewalk on 52 and a bike lane. So it makes no sense why Healy was treated any differently. When I first saw the plans for this work, my conversation with the town supervisor was that this was his opportunity to get sidewalks they needed along the recreation center and town hall. I even told him he could take complete credit for this. And we all know Ozzy likes to take credit for stuff. Unfortunately, the only ones that seem to care about this are the residents of Fishkill Woods and Fox Ridge, and I applaud you all for showing up. Thank you. This project impacts the town also. It's supposed to comply with the Complete Streets program, and they're taking town property also. And Mr., I think his name was Brian?
It was Scott.
Or Scott? Scott. On
The other night, yeah.
Monday said that this would not impact anyone's property line. That's not correct. I don't know what his name was. The guy from BTM. We went back and checked the surveys. What he said was not correct. Again, the Healy project has not followed the code of Fishkill. They failed to submit the turning lane drawings to the planning board as required, and on the application for the highway work permit for DOT, the town of Fishkill is clearly stated as the lead agency. So there's no reason that the town planning board should have been left out of this process. And New York State DOT told me that the engineer should have submitted those drawings to the planning board. They are again being, essentially, they're again being allowed to get away with this by the town, as they have on numerous other issues on that project. The fact that Joel took a month to open the email from the town supervisor concerning this issue shows the level of respect he has for the process, the citizens, and frankly, you, Ozzy. Ozzy, at the last meeting, and this isn't a direct quote, but this is what you said, something similar to this. You said that the citizens in Fishkill come first, that the supervisor answers to the citizens, and the departments answer to you. At what point is this going to be about the citizens of Fishkill and what we need, as opposed to Healy? Thank you.
Mr. Gabbard, can you address the day after the last town board meeting? We voted, that evening we listened to the citizens, we voted to do an investigation, and the next morning we began that investigation.
That's correct.
Can you explain to the residents of the town of Fishkill, Fishkill Woods, and Fox Ridge what the actual facts are?
Well, I wrote a letter to the board. I apologize for not getting it in time for the agenda for this meeting, and if it would be all right, I'd just like to read that off.
Yeah, closer.
Sure.
The procedural history of the application of the DKH Realty LLC for site plan approval for the Healy Hyundai automobile dealership on Route 52 is as follows. In 2021, the site plan application, which was then called an amended site plan, was submitted to the town planning board. It proposed demolition of the existing buildings and construction of a new Hyundai car dealership with a new dealership building, a single-story service and vehicle preparation building, parking spaces, and related site improvements. The project involved revisions to the entrances and exits to the property from Route 52. These revisions, the revisions to the entrances and exits, required approval from the New York State Department of Transportation. I have not reviewed all the site plan drawings submitted on the project, but as far as I can tell from the drawings that I have reviewed, the site plan did not provide details regarding any work for Route 52 beyond showing the proposed entrance and exit from the subject property. In 2022, the Planning Board granted the application for site plan approval subject to several conditions. One of the conditions was submission of proof that a highway work permit from New York State Department of Transportation had been granted for the site access and associated improvements on Route 52. Thereafter, Healy Brothers applied to the DOT for a highway work permit. In regard to that application, the applicant had to submit 3 copies of the DOT application form, the proposed work plans for the public road, proof of insurance, certain other supporting documents such as an indemnity agreement, and payment of all applicable fees. There is no legal requirement that the property owner notify or provide copies of the work plan to the municipality in which the property is located. The town has no jurisdiction over Route 52.
Thank you.
There is no public notice of a hearing on the application for a highway work permit. Once the highway work permit has been granted by the DOT, the applicant, that's the property owner, is required to provide notice that work is about to begin to the Commissioner of Transportation through the DOT's regional office, the DOT regional signal maintenance shop, and utility companies with facilities in the work area. Once work is completed, the applicant is required to provide notice to the DOT regional office. At no point is the property owner legally required to provide notice to the town, its planning board, or its building inspector. Here, it appears that Healy Brothers obtained their highway work permit from the DOT, I'm not sure when, sometime between 2022 and 2023.
The Healy signed it in April of '23, and it was signed off by DOT on October 12th of 2023, the same exact night the planning board approved the final, whatever it was called, I don't remember.
Okay, well, a building permit was issued which signals that not only the conditions imposed by the planning board had been met, but that the highway work permit, being one of those conditions, had been granted. However, in reporting to the town that a highway work permit had been issued, Healy would not be required to file copies of the work plans for the Route 52 work with the town, and in fact, it appears they did not do so. The town does not have copies of them, and I haven't been able to find any letters of transmission from Healy or their engineer to the town. On February 2, 2023, it was discovered that Healy Brothers had constructed the retaining wall on the property to a greater height than proposed or permitted in the approved site plan. When this came to the attention of the town board filed an application to compel Healy Brothers to return to the planning board for amended site plan approval. Following the town board's application, in fact, in response to it, Healy Brothers submitted an application to the planning board for amended site plan approval. The site plan approval, again, did not show the proposed work on Route 52. And it didn't have to do so since A, the changes to the amended approval did not concern the work on Route 52, they concerned the retaining wall and a few other changes they'd proposed. And B, the planning board has no authority for approval of work or improvements on Route 52. In 2023, the planning board granted the second amended site plan approval as per Healy Brothers' request. In regard to Route 52, the planning board's resolution imposed the following condition. Obtaining a highway work permit from New York State Department of Transportation for installation of sidewalks along the project's frontage on Route 52 if DOT determines that sidewalks are appropriate at this location. Based on the concern voiced by town residents, we have obtained a copy of Healy Brothers' approved plans. We got them from DOT just after the meeting. For Route 52 under the highway work permit by DOT. The plans include a turning lane and related changes and improvements to the roadway. They apparently also do include some sidewalks. Upon receipt of the plans for the Route 52 work, the supervisor contacted New York State DOT to discuss the ramifications of proposed work on the roadway and the opportunity to make modifications to the plans with DOT. A meeting with DOT representatives has been scheduled for Friday, March 24th, and we will report back once we have discussed the plans and had that meeting with DOT as to what, if anything, can be done in regard to Healy Brothers Highway Work Permit.
So,
What totally baffles me is the chairman of the town planning board said they should have seen those drawings because of the extensiveness of the changes. The county commissioner for planning told me that it should have gotten kicked to the town of Fishkill Planning Board. And New York State DOT told me that the engineer should have given them to the town of Fishkill Planning Board for review. So I don't understand how I can have the people, the town of Fishkill was lead agency. This wasn't a separate standalone project. The town of Fishkill was lead agency. They absolutely should have been involved in this. And when I have the chair of the planning board,
That's
county
absolutely
planning,
wrong, Bridget.
and New
You're
York
just
State
wrong.
DOT all telling me the same thing, I don't understand. All we want is to be treated with respect and have our concerns listened to. It's not just, you're right about the retaining wall. You know who told you guys about the retaining wall? Me. And then Joel hightailed it out there with the town engineer from CPL, and they're like, oh crap, she's right. And I was absolutely right of why he did it. The change with him being able to park 500 cars in a residential zone, that was a cleanup thing afterwards. He won that also. You guys came up with the resolution about blasting after he blew up half of 52 on his property and nobody knew he was going to do it. And then all of a sudden there's a town ordinance for that. This is just time after time after time. I have nothing against Dwight Healy. He built a beautiful building. I was on the planning board when he presented the building in the first place, and then I had to recuse myself because we were kind of getting a little crazy, and I couldn't do both things. But this is over and over and over again. When I was sitting up there on the planning board, we meet people on 82, put a section of sidewalk in that for hundreds of feet didn't connect with anything. Because it required in the Complete Streets program that this board, that this town adopted, that Dutchess County adopted, and because he checked the box that suited him and not the residents in Fishkill, what anybody else needs doesn't matter. That's just not right. That's absolutely not right. It's not us sitting here going, we want this, stomping our feet. We keep getting told over and over and over again, this should have been reviewed. None of us got, to start from the very beginning, none of us got a notice about this project in the mail when he first put his application. Not one of us. Nor the amended. The planning board, I'm sorry. The planning board should have been involved in that turning lane. It was in the traffic study that the planning board made them do. It was in that report. When I foiled everything and anything that the town of Fishkill had on this turning lane, all I got was that resolution. I had the traffic study in my hand that talked about the turning lane and the potential that it might be there. I'm not surprised it's there. I don't think that it's going to go away. But this is just not right. We had the meeting on Monday night, and I think you thought we were all just going to go away. We're not going away. This is crazy.
No one thought you guys were going away.
This is crazy. I said to that guy, I said,
there's
replace
two
what
issues.
you're ripping out.
There's two issues that we have to complete to make sure they're not taking any private property, and we want to make sure on Friday they do restoration work on your entrances. So it's far from done.
If you go try to pull out of Fox Ridge, if you look at that drawing and you try to pull out of Fox Ridge, you're not going to be able to see in either direction. So when their signs get ripped out, who's going to replace those signs? The people in Fox Ridge? If that job had gone to the planning board, it would have looked very similar, but that 10 or 15 feet of planter that's out in front of Fox Ridge and their signs, that all would have been addressed and it all would have been moved back. And could they have said, no, it's not happening? No, they really couldn't. But at least they wouldn't be responsible and be on the hook for it. That's what we got told on Monday night. We're going to come in, we're going to topsoil, we're going to throw some grass seed down, and we're done. That's all we're required to do. That's not fair. It's not fair. And I don't even know who the meeting is on Friday. I don't even know who we're talking to. It could be somebody's secretary.
The DOT.
The DOT is a big organization. I'd like to know who the meeting's
It's
with.
the engineer who's responsible for this project for approving it.
Okay, that's what I'd like to know.
Are we allowed to come? I'm an engineer, I'd like to be there.
It's a virtual meeting between the town and the DOT. There will be no public attendance. However, we will report back on what occurs there.
Mr. Gaba, Mr. Gaba, I am allowing members of the HOA board to attend, so she's going to attend.
Oh, very well, then there you go.
Yes.
It's not the
And I-
entire, it's
and
not
I give
open to the
Ozzy-
entire public.
I just want you guys to be on our side.
I apologize.
Not the entire public.
No, no, it's Tim and I. That's it. We just want you to be on our side. We want you to be safe for me to be able to walk down the sidewalk and get here to a meeting. Wouldn't that be a nice thing, instead of me driving a quarter mile because I don't want to walk on 52?
Can I comment?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Bridget. I'm pretty sure everybody here is on everybody's side out there. From my vantage point, and we can position planning board, we don't interact with. They do their thing and they give approvals, and you know that.
I do.
And what's going on with a highway and state DOT, you know, until things are happening, who knows what the heck is going on. But I know you know that when you sent out that email to our senator and our state assemblyman, I was on it right away, and I got them investigating, and I was pushing along with you. And I lucked into this Scott Way and got him to come to talk to you guys to give some information. That was the first time anybody had any public information. And remember, he's not a decision maker, he's just a messenger. And I'm very pleased that there is this additional meeting online that we're going to have on Friday with DOT. So to say that we're not on your side is incorrect. To say that we're hearing about it after the fact is correct, because that's exactly how, unfortunately, the process works.
That shouldn't be the way that, it shouldn't be, the process shouldn't be working backwards. It shouldn't be, because I almost got hit on 52 when they put in the temporary lanes and foiled everything, that's how everybody found out.
I know.
John?
When everybody was at the meeting 2 weeks ago, supervisor said the next day he was going to jump on this with the town attorney. It sounds like they have done that. So I know this meeting's coming up. I know Brian's got the estate representatives involved. We are on your side. I know. Feel like we're in quicksand a little bit, but we are absolutely on your side.
We don't want you to be on our side. We want you to be as mad as we are. They're doing this to the town too. This is on town property. This was the golden opportunity to have sidewalks put out in front of the town hall.
The planning board did put it in their amended site plan to get the sidewalks. The DOT rejected that.
No, there was no sidewalks on, the planning board didn't see any of this. There was some sketch that they got that when I foiled it, I wasn't given it, so if it exists, it doesn't exist. Okay. The chairman of the planning board stood here and told you guys that they didn't know anything about it, and if they did, we'd be in a different place.
Right.
So how is that? So you guys need to be mad.
Well, I am.
I
personally
I'm not jumping up and down, but I'm upset.
Excuse me. I just don't feel like, it's, you're going to lose 3 feet of your property, and they're going to move, Fishkill Woods, they're going to cut a couple trees down, they're going to move your sidewalk. In Foxbridge, you're not going to be able to see when you pull out. But it sure as hell would have been nice for the 1,000+ residents to be able to walk to the rec center, or to the town hall, or to the police department, or to one of the senior events that you guys have.
Bridget, I am mad. And I know you can look at us and say, well, the problem still exists, so how can you be mad? But as John and the supervisor and Brian were saying, when you're playing catch-up, which unfortunately is the only way that it works, whenever we discover a problem, we can't preemptively discover it. Because the laws as they're drafted, the codes that we have, only really operate if the applicant, if the developer, if the party on the actual
construction and installation side of the arrangement is acting in good faith. And developers with resources, engineers, construction teams, attorneys who are good at what they do will find a way to comply with the letter of the law and circumvent as much of the spirit of it as possible, because it's cheaper for them to do so. It's more profitable for them to do so.
Well,
all that we can really do is tackle what comes up when we see it, and it's important to remember that this is a legislative body, first and foremost. So we can analyze what's gone wrong with this and adopt new provisions to try and prevent it from happening. But looking at this and seeing what the supervisor and the town board have done over the past 4+ years, having been involved in that process and seeing the continuation of problems, it reminds me of the old adage of show me a 15-foot wall and I'll show you a 16-foot ladder.
Healy just built one, look across the street. So, but I will
Case in point.
I will tell you that when this first happened, I went to planning and I had a conversation with Joel. And he said to me, oh, it's a DOT for their, for the highway permit. If he was doing his job, he would have been on the phone with Colliers and said, how come we didn't get a set of those plans? And he didn't do that. Again, he didn't do his job. So when you look at all those things that went on, and the fact that this project went on across the street and outside his window, and he had the audacity to tell me this was up at DOT and he knew, for it to be up there for a highway permit, he knew there was drawings, he knew the permit was filled out, and he made zero effort to advocate on behalf of the town whose property they're taking. They're taking more of your frontage than they are any of us. And he did not have the decency on behalf of the town, his employer, and the citizens of this town to ask for those drawings is just inexcusable. And I'm getting really tired of coming up here and saying, this project got screwed up and this is what's wrong, and then we play catch up and he gets away with it. And then he does something else and he gets away with it.
Mr. Galbo, did the town board, planning board, or building department neglect anything regarding holding a public hearing or notifying the public?
No,
Bottom line.
everything was done legally. What Bridget keeps saying is that the plans should have been sent, and Joel should have looked into getting sets of plans. And maybe that's the case, but should isn't the same thing as legally required. It would have been good if Healy had come back to the planning board and said, this is what we're doing to Route 52. But Healy, as you might imagine, was not too keen on putting more issues before the planning board. They wanted to go forward with their buildings, so they're like, they have no jurisdiction over Route 52. Why should we submit the plans to them? But look, best practices are one thing, which are legally required to do or something else again. Everything that was legally required to be done here was done.
Well, when we're on the Zoom call on Friday, I expect whoever from the town that's on that Zoom call to be added, I don't even know what the right word is, encouraging them that they need to do the right thing and modify that permit so this gets kicked back and looked at. They're getting calls from Senator Rollison, they're getting calls from Assemblyman Beepan's office. They should be getting calls from you. And when we talk to them on Friday, that's what they need to hear, that they need to do something. That the fact that they went around and got away with something again because they chose to take the cheap way
Mr. Gallo,
out.
did they get away with something?
Get away with? In regard to Route 52, no, they did not get away with anything. Route 52, they applied for a highway permit, DOT reviewed it, DOT approved it. That's the way the process works. There is no provision for a public hearing. There is no provision for public notice. You go to DOT, they have jurisdictional Route 52, they review it and they grant it.
It was part of this project that was before the planning board.
Well,
It
it was a
says
part
it right
that
on
the
their application. This
planning
is the-
board did not have jurisdiction over the approval process on.
I worked on, dare I say, I worked on Continental Commons when I was on the planning board. All that state DOT stuff was in there. It was part of the review that we did. It was part of the entrances and exits and the traffic lights and the crosswalks and everything that came back from DOT and that whole design we talked about. I talked about DOT's comments on multiple projects, on Route 9 down by the mines and stuff like that where they were digging. Multiple projects. I never saw a project that, we'll just go around to DOT. That's just,
Well, that sort of
there are
calls back
words.
to the point that I was making of
There just
a
aren't
good engineer, a good attorney, a good developer will know exactly how to comply with the letter of the law in a way as to attract as little attention as possible from as few people as is absolutely necessary, so that the first time that we catch wind of something that we're not going to want to see happening, it's already underway, and the worst that we can really ask them to do is apologize. Because asking for forgiveness is always more efficient than asking for permission. And that's why we're always behind the 8 ball on it. It isn't a lack of care, it isn't a lack of effort, nor is it a lack of dedication. It is simply that a plan can be submitted, a plan can be approved, requiring certain other things to be done, but if the laws which exist, and correct me, Mr. Gaba, the requirements that the work permit applications be submitted to the DOT, that's not a town ordinance, that is a state requirement, is it not?
Well, it is a state requirement in the sense that you have to get permission from the DOT to do work on Route 52. In this particular instance, they had to get the highway work permit because they were improving the entrance and exit, just those gap spaces to get on Route 52, so it was a requirement of the site plan as well. But it didn't go beyond, oh, you're changing your entrances, go to DOT and figure out how you're going to change them. There was no discussion of turning lanes or anything like that in front of the planning board.
And so
had there been, they might have said, well, we want to see more, in regard to the plans on this, but there wasn't.
Well, there's what's legal and there's what's right, and clearly they didn't do what was right again.
Exactly.
Anybody else speak about anything about the town of Fishkill? Ms. Burka?
Hi, Jody Lynn Burka, Town of Fishkill, also on the planning board. Bridget's correct. A lot of the stuff that we see coming through has what's going to be happening to Route 9D, what's going to be happening to, how are we going to be getting people in and out safely. But Bridget, with all due respect, this project has been a hot mess since minute one. And 3 years ago when I was out, it would have been nice had all you people come, because maybe we could have stopped it before it even started. Honestly. I'm not blaming it on the residents. I'm simply saying I put out emails and I was telling people this project was going to move forward. So anybody surprised at what they're doing, they will find every loophole and they're going to move forward. That's what they're going to do. We, on Old Glenham Road, lost over 7 acres. For them to park their cars, take a ride down Old Glenham Road tonight when you go home and see how bright their lights are. They light up our entire road. That wasn't supposed to happen, but it's happening. Nobody is going to stop them. They find every single loophole, and that's what it is. And it's sad, and it's pathetic. And the fact that we are behind the 8 ball, yeah, we are. So we have to put better codes in place and really say, you know what? All these codes need to have a ramification for if you break them. The wall's 15 feet tall. They didn't pay 1 penny, yet there are residents who have fences and get charged. It doesn't make any sense. I've said this for a few years. It doesn't make any sense at all. These people should have to, I get it. They're complying with the letter of the law. I get it. But common courtesy, they stood up here and said they cared about our town. No, they didn't. They never did. They care about making $1. Yeah, their building looks great. You don't think it's out of place with everything else? And just wait till someone really gets hurt, because that's what's going to happen. They're going to get hurt. But, I hope that this can stop. I think that they should do something. They should put in the code, if you go off the plan, you should not continue to be allowed to work. When they knew the wall was 15 feet, it should have been stop work immediately till it comes back. Not circumvent and still work and do what you got to do. It should be stop and then address it, or be fined, or something. And I don't know, when you have money and resources and you have people who can figure out how to loophole stuff, what can you do? And I was told to quietly just go away, it will be fine, and it's not fine, and it's a hot mess, and it's going to continue. And I guarantee you someone is going to lose their life, and then it's going to be an even bigger problem. And we all know that's going to happen. So, it's sad.
I said it has to be a lot of people die. Isn't that wonderful? That's their measure.
Agreed.
Do you know how many
Guys, we'll come to them. Thank you, Ms. Berger.
Okay.
Ma'am, you can go next.
I agree with you. It was just a couple years ago that girl with her kids was hit. Last year, another person was hit.
Jody, let her come to the mic.
Okay, you should come to the mic,
one at a
because that's
time.
the only way people are going to know.
One at a time.
We know, but yes, come up. I'm leaving. Thank you, thank you.
Ms. Berger.
You should say something. That's how people are going to know.
My name is Maria Galliano. I live in Fox Ridge and Fishkill. And I heard you say two things you were concerned about at the meeting on Friday. Number one thing should be like safety, in my opinion. Okay? So please add safety to the list, because the guy who was here from the BTM on Monday night, he said, when I asked about safety and traffic light and people had to get killed, his answer was, do you know how many students had to get killed at Marist before they put in a tunnel or whatever?
He did say
Okay,
that.
great. Is that what we need? We need to have people killed out here?
he
And
wa-
a
he
big
wasn't-
number before
He wasn't the best
something?
presenter. I caught that too.
Right? Like, come on.
Yeah.
I was really disturbed by that comment.
Oh, I was too. But, you know, we can't shoot him, maybe wound him, but not shoot him.
No, I'm not
Because
shooting
he
him,
was
but I'm
just a
saying if
messenger.
that's the
But that-
attitude people have, that's
that-
unacceptable.
No, I know, but that was inappropriate. I know that, you know.
No, but I mean, so I want to be clear that, like, we should be very concerned about the safety, right?
I got it. And
Absolutely.
the signs coming out.
We still appreciated him coming out. He's the only one that did that for anybody, so.
Good evening. Tim DeLorme, I'm in Fishkill Woods. A couple of different points. To the counselor's point, or Ozzy actually made the statement in asking you if they followed the complete letter of the law on their site plan and to the DOT for their permits for the highway. And I would get back to you and say they did not. Not a person in this room from 3 years ago received any notification per the town code 114-2 in writing that this application was going before the board. And then we did not hear again when the amended filing was done. In both those instances, anybody within 500 feet on Old Glenham, across the street here, should have received a written notification. So let the record show that.
Mr. Garrett, explain what you said about the DOT, not after.
I don't need to hear about the DOT, you know.
No.
I understand that they don't, you know, they didn't have to. Maybe
Can-
they did. We heard otherwise.
Can the town of Fishkill order the DOT to do that?
Ordered the DOT?
To make
No,
a
it's talking about the
notification?
2021 application when they first submitted it to the planning board.
There's a process for the planning board for site plan, and the individuals are saying that there was no notice sent out in regard to the site plan. I don't think you have an adjoiner's notice. It would have been for the public hearing, I would think. I don't know whether they complied with that or not. I haven't gone back in the record to check how the site plan application was processed up to the point of approval. I can tell you, however, in regard to the amended approval that was issued and the process of getting the highway work permit, there were no irregularities. They followed the letter of the law.
So the DOT was not required to notify
No,
from our
DOT
town?
does not
Because what the residents were suggesting, that our town code would make the state do something. And if they
No, I
didn't do
think
it, they'd
what
be in
they're-
violation.
I think what they're saying, Ozzy,
No?
is in the course of the site plan approval, they didn't receive notice of the proceedings before the planning board. I don't think they're talking about
Okay, I
the
understand that.
DOT
That's correct.
Thank you, Tim, I understand that.
Okay. And to this gentleman's comment about developers having such fantastic professionals working with them, I worked for 37 years with some of the biggest developers in the state on 10 million square feet of office development, residential properties, worked with Steve Ross, a lot of really serious players in the industry. You guys need to have better professionals working for you. And then these things won't fall through the cracks. You should have a landscape architect reviewing every plan that gets submitted for a commercial project. An engineer isn't going to look for the aesthetic kinds of things that make a place beautiful and meet your complete street guidelines, and that would come out of the developer's escrow or the applicant's escrow, so it's not costing you anything to do that, and they will look at a plan in a different way than an engineer will. I just want to come back to that point. I would like to ask you all to provide us proof that we were notified, if we were. I mean, that's normally done by certified letter, so there should be
I
a
don't recall
record.
that.
If not, I mean, we can foil it to find out if
No, I don't
the
think that was done.
notifications were done.
I have no idea if it was done or not.
A notification of the amended site plan?
Of the preliminary site plan, the final site plan, any amended site plans, anytime you had a public
Go back
hearing
through
on
the planning
Healy, we
board's
should have
file and see
received
if they had
notifications.
notice.
I'm sorry?
You can go through the planning board's file and see if notices were sent out, but even if they weren't, the statute of limitations long run on that.
Right,
So-
and I do recall that when that took place, Ms. Burka was one of the first to bring to our attention the fact that no notice had been issued, because if my memory serves, and Ms. Burka can correct, Ms. Burka first began speaking at town board meetings about the matter when it came to her attention that not only had the project application been submitted, but that a determination regarding zoning had been made by the zoning administrator, and that no notice was issued. And not only had that happened, but it had taken place long enough ago that the period in which Ms. Burka could have filed an appeal or a grievance about that had also expired. But
We changed that law, right?
we changed that law. So I'm not certain if the provision of the town code that you're referring to about notice actually existed in 2021.
Yes, it did.
It did? Okay. Because I know that we changed those notification
showed up.
laws. I don't remember the chapter and section immediately to hand. But that is the type of work that the town board has undertaken when we've spotted a deficiency within the code that a developer can exploit. We do look at that from a legislative standpoint to try and strengthen the provisions to prevent it from happening again. The issue, of course, is that there's often legally little remedy to what's already been done.
Well, there is. We changed that with the building inspector. We can appeal his decision, and we can appeal it to the zoning board of appeals, which we've done. So
Yeah.
that was one of the things that came out of this.
I thank you for that.
Yeah.
That was a good thing to happen.
So, but you don't know these things until they happen. I had one guy with a flag lot down on Old Castle Point Road. That notification was, the notification laws were for the planning board to notify him if something happened. No one ever told him anything about it because it involved the town board letting it happen. So the town board was taking the action, they did not have to notify him, and we changed that one too. So these things pop up.
Okay, I just have one more.
Sure.
Thing to talk about. While I was grateful, Brian, that and Ozzy, that the meeting got set up on Monday, Scott from BTM was an awful presenter. He stood in front of us and tried to convince us that this was going to be a beautiful road. You're going to love it. You're all going to be better off because it's going to be a really great road. There's going to be no potholes, and there's going to be, nice striping, and we're going to get a little sidewalk. It sounded like the elected officials down in Washington half the time. It's like we just talk out of whatever side and try to convince people that what we're saying is reality. Your own ordinances tell you what a good-looking road is. It's a complete street. And I want to be clear about what our expectation is for this meeting on Friday, when we talk to DOT. We're looking for you to aggressively represent us. And what we want is our property frontages restored in kind to what is there today. We want our irrigation system to work. We want the grading to be done well. We want them to put down 4 inches of topsoil before they put seed and not just go out there and throw it on the subgrade. We want the trees replaced. Fox Ridge should get replaced in kind, the number of shrubs, their flagpole. Maybe it should even be upgraded. It should have better lighting. Maybe their sign has to be moved. It would be lovely if they would put a sidewalk down at least to the recreation center entrance, and maybe even plant a few street trees on the front of our property, on the town property. That would make a beautiful street, well, maybe not beautiful, but a much better looking street and a much more safe and friendly to pedestrians and bikers. So just to be clear, that's our expectation, that's my expectation. I'm not sure I speak for everybody, but I want to make it very clear to DOT and our state representatives that this is what we expect and Healy should pay for it. Thank you.
I notated all those after the meeting.
Hello, Louise Daniele. I wasn't planning on talking tonight, but listening to Bridget, I just have to say she's correct. She's correct in the point that when we've had really large-scale projects such as Continental Commons, they did. Everything was spoken about what they were going to do with the transportation, with the road. You're right, Bridget. So that wasn't done here, and then it kind of seems like it's a little surprise at the end that now everybody has to deal with. And it may sound from our attorney like it's something they legally can do, but if they can, once again, that needs to be changed in the future by this board, because it has to stop. I know when I was on there, just like you just said, we made changes because of what was happening for the future. It's unfortunate that they have to suffer the consequences of a developer getting away with something again. So if you can make the change for that to not happen in the future, I think everybody in the town would appreciate it. And also, I didn't know June was coming tonight. I met June a long time ago when she first had a water meter issue. I know that Paul and other people may disagree with what she says. You may think it's a large scale issue that she's talking about, but I believe she had, her son had someone vote in his name, and that was part of the issue while she was looking at it. She lives in Fishkill. Doesn't matter if you live in Fishkill, Dutchess County, you can come here and say whatever you want. That was one of the things that I'm proud that we changed. But it does matter, and it is a local issue when somebody loses by 2 votes in our town, and there are people on the board who still have not legitimately shown that they legally reside in our town. And they have residents, they have their family. They have a daughter who's registered to vote in the same house that he has not proved that he legally resides there by presenting a lease. So it does affect everybody. It affects who's ending up sitting on this board, and things need to change regarding that, which meaning you should resign. That's my say.
Anybody have anything else they want to say about town? Come on, Maureen.
Hello, Maureen.
Good evening, board members and supervisor and Mr. Gaba. Big shift in gears here a little bit, and I'm going to really try to be quick as I can. I'm here, as you may have guessed, about the property maintenance law. At the last meeting on March 6th, when I looked in the agenda today, it said somebody referred to it at that meeting as the firewood law, which I could see why they did it by the end of that meeting. And because some of the speakers or speaker redirected it so people would think that way and had some misinformation. So this is a very important law to me personally, but it can also apply to a lot of other people in the town of Fishkill, other residents who have or neighbor wooded property. And unfortunately, I've come by this like through pain. And also because this law is, Chapter 90 is under construction, so I believe at the next meeting, April 3rd, we're expecting possibly something more from Mr. Gaba.
Mr. Gaba, I mentioned this to you. Can we take that part about the firewood stuff and go ahead and finish the maintenance and then bring that up later as another law?
Sure, there's,
This is going to take a while.
yes.
So what we're going to do is we're going to separate the firewood thing and have a special public hearing just on that alone.
Okay.
So I don't want to rush anything with that, but I don't want to slow down this maintenance thing.
I understand that.
There's other people complaining about stuff throughout the town of
I get
Fishkill.
it.
And as you know, we've had 4 distressed properties. We knocked down 2 houses. We had 1 boarded up and 1 was restored to better than new condition. We're almost done with the maintenance law because there's people that have yards with garbage on them and et cetera. And we don't want to slow it down because of this. So we're gonna break this out and separate it. Is that okay with you, board members?
Oh, yeah.
So we want to get this maintenance law passed, and then we'll revisit the firewood.
Okay, may I just make a few comments which I think
Sure.
may contribute helpfully to the construction part of this. At last week's, 2 weeks ago, that meeting, it said, one part of the law said that wood that was stacked for seasoning would be a violation to the property maintenance law, and wood that was stacked for immediate burning, that would not be a violation. And Mr. Rye, I remember you saying you thought that was too restrictive, and I kind of agreed with it. So I did, and later when Ms. Lagoy spoke about her experience with, fire, like building fires at home, and taking care of wood for it, she said that, and I just checked with her if I understood correctly, that that she believes in stacking wood for seasoning. Otherwise, if it's just sitting on the ground, it can rot, which I can see in my yard, and have it cleaned out. So that's one thing I thought might be helpful, because with the storage aspect of, you said you were going to be looking for a way, so I thought that might be helpful with that problem. So that's one thing. And then another piece of misinformation that was brought up by another resident said over and over, like when I just was, like right before I left, I had the tape on just to refresh my memory, and it said, like 7 times in like a 5-minute snip of the on the video from the last meeting, that the new law that you wrote required that the wood be stacked 1 foot high. And you said, I don't think that was in the law, and it wasn't. And that speaker said that, yeah, it has to be 32 feet long and 4 feet wide and 1 foot high. It doesn't say that anywhere. And I looked back at Chapter 140, the December 2023 timber harvesting law that was passed, and in the list of definitions of different terms that was going to be used in that term, it said a standard cord equals 4 feet by 4 feet by 8 feet. Nothing about 1 foot high. And he was like, oh, my whole yard would be decked if I had it only 1 foot high. So I thought that might be instrumental to know that people's yards aren't, there's this 1 foot high restriction. He said it in a 5-minute snippet. There may be more if you listen to more of the tape, I don't know. 7 different times and contradicted you. So, just saying. So, Mr. Gaba, I really appreciate it, and I want to say this, that you, toward the end of the meeting, after listening to everything, you were redirecting this not on a firewood law, but on a property maintenance law, and you said that you were concerned initially when you wrote the law that there was a concern that people would go in and clear lots of trees and leave the felled trees there for an unreasonable amount of time. I'm experiencing that right out my windows. Huge. You could fill an 18-wheeler, maybe more, with it. It's a danger. It brings pests. It's a fire hazard. It's an eyesore. And so that's that. And you also said some things I liked, that's the issue. It's been being very clear that it's felled trees, to be burned, or that's what the intent, because it's so easy for someone to say, oh yeah, it's being seasoned out there, and instead, when you do, I have this pile, it's like a bulldozed dump mess, like you took a huge, enormous can of Lincoln Logs and just dumped them. It's just branches, limbs, brush, and tree trunks. And it ain't going anywhere. It's been there several years now. And you said, I want to revisit the issue of felled trees and see if there's a way that can be kept in, because we've had residents come in and say that that's an issue. I'm not the only person in the town of Fishkill who has wooded property. A lot of people don't. It's, houses that are relatively close to one another, so that's lucky. But I've just been like this unwilling victim of this person who, the way our property lines go, they're diagonally, so he doesn't look out his windows. His family doesn't look out and see this. I look out at it. And I heard somebody was over at my house doing work and said, hey, what's that? and then told me a story about a prominent family here in, like, nearby, right in Dutch, well, I don't know, yeah, it's in Dutchess County. I haven't checked it out, but I believe the person, don't tell me crazy stories, that a prominent property owner in the area at some point cleared a whole bunch of trees, made a huge nasty pile, left it, and all of the residents wound up getting, the neighboring residents wound up with cockroaches and wound up suing them and got a whole big chunk of change for it. I don't want that. If I have cockroaches, I will bang on the door.
What happens when people bury their garbage in the backyard?
Yeah.
That's how that happens. Anybody seeing that should call us immediately.
Well, so it definitely, Ms. Lagoy last week, said something about pests and mice and the whole chain, snakes and then raccoons, and it just keeps going.
We're going to break it apart.
So, thank you very much for listening.
Ms. Mann.
I tried to be quicker this time.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Sure, come on. Absolutely.
The meeting that
Come to the-
on Friday.
Come on the thing.
Joyce from Foxridge.
Hi.
The meeting that's taking place on Friday, was there a board member from Foxridge that was invited to that?
Yes,
Oh, there was.
and he's coming.
He's coming. Do we know who that is?
What's his name? Scott? What's his name?
Oh, Scott, the one that no one recognizes. Dan?
The tall gentleman. No, not Chacho.
No.
He responded saying he was coming.
Steve?
Yes.
Yeah, because I'd like to know, just to follow up.
Yes, you'll have
'Cause there's other
representation.
questions I have as well.
Yes.
About something we already.
Answer it right now if you want.
I was asking about the property, those driveways going up. I've spent most of the day researching the DOT, the property lines, what has, is there actually a, what's the word for it? I'm nervous about being up here.
That's okay.
Does the DOT have a right, or do we actually own that property, or is it something that the DOT is just saying, well, you have the right to use because you live up on that hill, or do we own that property? And
No, it's an easement, right? It goes back
New York
25
State
feet.
right-of-way, yeah.
It's a right-of-way, and...
It's New York State. I know that
Yes.
Route 52 is...
Yes.
Okay, so,
That
because
easement,
I've been looking all day for something that says, we own that, but I haven't been able to find that. So,
that easement was set how long ago, do you think?
well, yeah, probably like
40s?
1930 or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, when the road went in, I'm sure. No road, almost no roadway, the state roadway is limited to the pavement. Always, I suppose there might be some older roads that are an exception, but 99% of the time, there's a right-of-way on either side of it, and the state is entitled to, on its right-of-way, if it's so inclined, to widen the road, put in shoulders, put in culverts, sidewalks if it, or big property owners put in sidewalks if it has a mind to. But
Okay.
it's the roadway's not just the roadway. There's a space beyond that that's the right-of-way for New York State Route 50.
Okay, and in this case, it's 25 feet?
I think that's what he
Is
was
that
saying.
correct?
He was saying it could be up to 25 feet, and they separate it so when they plow, the snow has a place to go.
Yeah.
That's what he mentioned.
Right.
So he had these lines, he mentioned that if you follow it straight through, it's just continuous.
Okay, now, I know that we have if you have, I read today, I did a lot of research today. I've been sick and doing a lot of research. My research today told me that people who have used a particular road that may not be theirs, but it's assumed that they can use it and have it, and is that true? Can they just now say, after we've been using it for, 30 years old, this development, or the other is?
You know what she's referring to?
She's referring to adverse possession.
Yes.
Adverse possession claims will not lie against the state of New York or its subdivisions, so it doesn't matter. You will not have an adverse possession claim to use
Okay,
it.
so it always goes back to, okay. All right, thank you very much.
No, anytime.
All right.
Good to see you. Anything about town items before I close this out? All right. Next up is liaison member reports. Greg?
Yes, thank you. For starters, I am deeply regretful that I wasn't able to attend the meeting on Monday, but my work schedule doesn't permit me to be back in Fishkill early evening for a lot of meetings. But I'm very glad that the meeting was held. I am looking forward to hearing how the meeting on Friday goes. We see when dozens of residents turn out to talk about the same issue, what matters. And seeing residents come out and joining together and speaking, that's why we're here. It's for people to speak to so that we can represent you at the different levels beyond the town. And that's what we're doing. And I thank the supervisor, I thank our state representatives, thank Mr. Gaba for taking this seriously and moving forward. And I know that we're optimistic about the next steps. Last week was the St. Patrick's Day gathering over at the rec center. I'm told it was a fantastic event. More than 100 people showed up. St. Patrick's Day itself, of course, was Sunday, and I wish a happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone who, like me, celebrates their Irish heritage. And I did just want to bring to the board's attention some legislation that passed at the state Senate level yesterday, a package of bills for ratepayer protection, specifically regarding utility companies. Now, this has just cleared the state Senate so far, and I'll be happy to forward you the press release that I drafted and sent out a little earlier today. But it includes 9 bills, which are intended to put utility company customers first and hold utility companies accountable. So some of the provisions of the legislative package would require utility companies to consider the economic impact of rate changes when requesting a rate change to the Public Service Commission. It would also require utility companies to explain the methodology by which they calculate what the rates that they're charging for their utility services should be, and establish guidelines of fairness and equity regardless of the different communities that are being served. Another thing that it does is it slightly expands the Home Energy Assistance Program. That's for individuals who require assistance managing the heating costs of keeping their homes warm in the wintertime. It also establishes a provision for those who are eligible will automatically be re-enrolled on an annual basis, so that way they do not need to continually go through the process of constantly applying. And another thing that it does crucially, and this is something that Senator Skoufis introduced, is a provision that would establish civil penalties when utility companies knowingly misrepresent or give false statements to the Public Service Commission whenever they are dealing with a rate-making proceeding at the Public Service Commission level. Now, these have just cleared the state Senate. They have not yet cleared the Assembly. So I would recommend anyone who is encouraged by this legislation, which I think would do a lot to alleviate some of the issues which we're seeing in terms of not being able to understand why our bills are as high as they are, being able to hold utility companies accountable for how often it is that they want to change the rates that we're paying. Reach out to our local assemblyman. He's always been very responsive. As was mentioned earlier, AJ Bepan is our local assembly person. He has been a partner of the town in working with our residents to get them customer service from Central Hudson, hosting in partnership with the town a couple of events here over the past couple of years, bringing Central Hudson representatives here to the town to provide face-to-face, one-on-one assistance to residents who have had issues with their bills. So if this is an issue that matters to you, if your energy bills are too high, if you have concerns about the practices of companies like Central Hudson, reach out to Assemblyman Bepan's office, ask him to make sure that this also clears the Assembly and gets to the governor's desk to be signed. And that's all I have.
John?
I thank you, everybody, for being here tonight and for watching. I want to first say that I'll repeat myself, that the supervisor and I can butt heads from time to time, but 2 weeks ago when this issue with Healy was brought up by Bridget and the rest of the HOA members, Ozzy did say the next day we were going to start moving on this, and I do want to thank Ozzy, Brian, Greg, and Mr. Gaba for at least getting us to this point. We do have some answers. We have a little clarity on a few things. I know it feels like we're in quicksand sometimes on the town board, but we are doing the best we can. And I hope the meeting on Friday is productive. The only thing I'll say is Wednesday, the 13th of March, I sat in on the second round of interviews with candidates who were interviewing for the controller's position, and I think we are getting close to naming somebody. And on Thursday the 14th, spent some time at the rec center with the St. Patrick's Day lunch for the seniors. That's all.
Brian?
Okay. I will enjoy being on the call with DOT on Friday, right after the meeting that we did have on Monday, which was impromptu. And I was glad we were able to pull it together. Mr. Way may not ever volunteer for anything again, but we got him here, and I do appreciate him from Blacktop Maintenance as the site superintendent to show up. And it just provided some more information, and information is the key to so many different things, and people have a right to be extremely upset about what's going on there, and it's a continuum, and I understand that. So I absolutely will be advocating for the entrances to be the same, and safety concerns, as well as it was brought out to us at that particular meeting, potential speed limit change, and some warning signs and maybe flashing lights, with just whatever we can get and whatever we can push on. Trust me, we're going to be on that. I did go to the rec center and for St. Patrick's Day. I was able to stop in quickly. It was rather packed, and I know that everybody was having a good time, and I enjoyed seeing John Foreman serving lunch. I've never seen you run around so fast since our working together, so it's a good job on you, just getting those lunches out there. I also, this weekend, stopped by the rec center for March Madness. Now, I just want to point this out. 2 major events inside of a couple of days that our rec center pulled off. It was the lunch for all of our seniors, which as a senior, I appreciate how they take care of the seniors. Just anyway, it's just a beautiful thing, well taken care of, and the volunteers that helped, etc. And then it was a couple of days of March Madness, and all the teams and all the players and all the coordination and all the memories. So hats off to Jay and the entire staff for such a great job. I did go by Glenham for their breakfast recently. Of course, we had that particular event the other night. Seems like I'm missing something, but I know we'll be experiencing, for those who celebrate Easter, that's coming up on the 31st, and look at the rec center for the Easter egg hunt that'll be coming out at Gearing Park. That'll be wonderful, and hopefully we have good weather.
A week from Saturday.
What's that?
A week from Saturday.
A week from Saturday. So, that's it.
That's what you got? Okay. So we closed, Mr. Gabba, we closed the public, I'm sorry, do you want something else? Mr. Gabba, we closed the public hearing on the polls, right? Can you prepare a resolution to,
Yeah, I thought I'd done that already, but I guess not, Becky, huh?
yeah.
Well, it's not on for tonight, but I've been sick, so I honestly.
April 3rd is the next town board
We'll have
meeting?
it for the April meeting.
I think,
no problem.
you know what, it may be on for April, I will just double check.
All right.
Okay, I just don't see that there.
Talk to you in the morning.
Okay,
Any comments?
I don't have any comments. I'd like to take a 5-minute adjournment. Can I have a second?
Second.
Yeah,
All in
recess,
favor?
recess, yeah.
5-second recess, my apologies. 5-minute recess.
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 You're reading my mind.
Yeah, that's nice. The discussion of placing no U-turn signs on Chair Party, we already passed that law, right? Was that one?
Yes, I think.
Separate things.
There you go, start it again. You said it last time, too.
Oh, God, you're gonna make me, my brain is so
Okay.
dedicated.
Now we got to do a resolution.
There was one, because the no U-turns were not put in the home rule, one where we could just not have to do local law. There was two, right? And then there was, so we had to do a separate one for Chia Party.
No, you're mistaken, Becky.
No.
If we adopted that law, and I believe we did, the board did adopt that law.
I thought we did.
Yes. The law already provides that all the schedules, the code already provides that all the schedules can be amended by resolution. The law that was adopted created a new schedule saying no U-turns on Chia Party. So all you got to do is put up the sign.
So we're done.
You're done.
We're done. So Chia Party signs, we don't have to do anything.
Close.
Close it. Joe? Oh, Kevin's here. We could put up no U-turn signs on Chia Party.
I gave them the resolutions, because they.
We're good with that.
I know. I'm not going to call it to the supervisor.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, that's done.
Yep.
Next up, discussion of take-home cars. You guys going to leave it the same? Any changes?
On what?
You want to keep it the same?
Which one are you talking about?
2.
Number 2, discussion of vehicles for on-call police lieutenants.
Well, there's nothing to discuss.
How about you, John? Nothing to discuss?
I believe we have a policy in place already.
Okay. Close that one for me, Becky. Number 3, can we table it to the second meeting in April?
At 4/17?
4/17, yes. Next up, a discussion to award contract for the Bricker-Off Mirror Interconnection Project.
Yeah.
We're good with this one, right, guys? This is a big
Yep,
win for
yep,
the
yep.
residents of Fishkill.
It's a biggie.
It's a big win. We went from having a health department problem that was going to cost about $5.6 million. We got it down to about 1.2, and we got the bid. It's going to be below 800,000.
I read that, and that was very impressive.
Yes, so we have a little money to do some other things, which we'll discuss later.
Good.
So, okay. And number 5, discussion of workers' compensation insurance renewal. So, Mr. Gallo, we have these certain things. Like in July, we redo the workers' comp, and then in January, we redo the entire insurance. How do we put something out for a bid? How would we do, if we want to do something for a bid, what would be the timeline?
Well, insurance is considered professional services, so you don't have to follow public bidding regulations as far as timelines or anything like that. What you do is you put together a request for proposals.
Request for proposals.
for quotes, if you prefer. You can
Okay.
call it either. It's the same thing. And you put out a notice to the town. If Fishkill is soliciting bids for workers' compensation insurance, proposals must be received by such and such a date. Will be open and considered by the town board on such and such another date. Now, the thing about insurance, as I'm sure you all know, is you need a broker of record to get a quote from a particular insurance company. They won't give multiple quotes to, a single company won't give multiple quotes, except they'll only give them to the broker of record. Now, you can give broker of record letters to multiple agents, but they'll have to solicit the bids from different insurance companies.
Understood. John, is that pretty much right?
Yeah. I'll say that there are not a lot of carriers out there who are writing workers' comp for municipalities. Before we got on board, the town of Fishkill was with a company called Comp Alliance through Brown & Brown down in Mayapack, who writes our liability insurance. It was moved to the Reese Group in Kingston with PERMA, because I'm sure it was a cost savings for the town. So it does, these guys juggle, they go around the whole state, they go to all the municipalities. For 5 years, a town's with PERMA. 5 years later, the claims go up, the premiums go up, they move it to Comp Alliance. 5 years after that, they just play,
Play tag.
They go back and forth, and I don't know that there are any other carriers out there who are writing municipalities for workers' comp.
So for example, the gentleman from Reese Group says he can give us a better rate.
He would probably have to go back to Comp Alliance.
I forgot what he said. So if he comes back with a a contract. You want to look at it? And
Absolutely.
All right, we'll just leave it at
I'll
that.
work with Suzanne. Is Suzanne handling this, or?
She made a comment on an email about it, so.
Okay.
But I didn't want to go forward if you guys didn't want to look into it.
No.
All right.
Absolutely.
So there's no need, can you close this one out too, Becky? Yep. Next up is discussion of budget modifications of the 2024 DA fund budget adopted for highway insurance recoveries for damaged trucks due to the fire on 127-24. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Number 7, discussion of Fishkill, East Fishkill Fishkill landfill testing. So here, this is one of those proverbial problems that happened 50 years ago. There was a landfill with the town of Fishkill, which is in the town of Fishkill, off of Van Wyck Lake Road by the East Fishkill border, and East Fishkill and Fishkill had a landfill. And we pay X amount of dollars a year, and the testing went up this year, $26,000, and we just recently found out about it. So we're gonna have to split $13K between both municipalities. I talked to Supervisor D'Alessandro, he's okay with that. Just gonna let you guys know that we're gonna have to do a budget modification on that for the next meeting. You guys have any questions regarding that?
I read it, and I get it, so.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
It's.
Do you know what the number is going to be?
The total, I don't know the total, but I know the new testing is 26,000.
Oh, 26,000.
Is that annual or a quarter?
I think it's annual.
Okay.
The addition.
We pay, what, $24,000
We
just for maintenance of the bills that I paid for that thing?
So you're looking at the town's gonna pay like $50,000 a year to maintain this landfill, and East Fishkill will pay another $50,000 in perpetuity until this thing, whenever it goes off the thing. So these problems of the past, whether they're pipes, water, sewer, bad decisions of the past cost us money in the future. So Joe, I'm gonna work with Corrine to figure out how we do a budget transfer for that $13,000, and we'll get that on the agenda for the first meeting in April.
Should we close this or just table?
Is a resolution good enough?
Yeah.
So we'll just close it and we'll just do a resolution?
It's just like ages ago when, throw those chemicals in the river.
That's exactly what they did.
Throw it in the creek, that's fine.
Yep. So, next up, discussion of using ARPA funds for water connection survey. So the good news tonight is this $5.6 million interconnection is down to 1.2, down to less than 900. So we have $300,000 to do other things for the citizens of Fishkill. There's a development at the corner of Route 52 and Red Schoolhouse Road that has wells. Some of them are drying out. There was a study done, a preliminary study by the town in 2018. I'd like to use maybe $22,000 to do of that ARPA money to do a more further detailed report on that. And
that's tell me about that again.
Yeah, in 2018 they did a study that would cost around $1.5 million. Joe DeFrancisco, our in-house project manager, redid the numbers, and it comes up to about $2.5 million for this. I looked at the previous study. I think if we could do a better study and more recent, I think we could be in a good position to get some grant money for this one. So I'm looking to spend no more than 25 grand on this. He quoted me 21,000. John.
So I am well aware Paradise Heights is looking for water. There are other areas in Fishkill that probably are in the similar position. Would this town board be open to doing something similar to other areas if we have the money?
Like where?
Chaparty Place?
We could do something like that. So we have, let's say we have 300,000 left. The Little League lights are not going to be 200, they're going to be 240. So I need 40 for that. I need 25 for this. So we're on 90. So we probably could do Chaparty too, if that's what you like. But it would only be a study.
I know.
But once we get the study done, according to our comprehensive plan, that puts us in a position to apply for the grants.
Especially with the DWSP2 community.
So, yes, absolutely, Chair Party. And the other development that wanted water was Hunt's development across from the cemetery on Route 9, but they voted that down many times. So, yes, if you want to add Chair Party, any idea how many homes? About 30, 40?
No, I think under 40.
Under 40?
Yeah.
So you want to do both at the same time? I can get them to redo the numbers?
Yes.
Brian?
Sure.
Greg?
Absolutely.
So, Brian, Joe? So I'll talk to this, and are you guys okay with us proposing to use that new guy down the street, MK, to do this.
Let's give them a shot.
Give him a shot. This is a small project.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, first thing we're going to do is going to add Cheer Party Place, and have them ask to do both studies. So we figure for Cheer Party Tangaran, it's a lot smaller. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Let's see what they come back with as far as numbers. But,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, there was a study in 2018 for Paradise Heights.
Yeah.
But it was not as in detail that they would want for a grant.
Right.
All right, so we're good with both of those?
Yeah.
Now we have privilege of the floor for agenda items. Yeah. We would have to vote on this, right, for resolution? So you can close this one, I'll have the resolutions ready for it. So close that. Well, Mr. Gaba, have those resolutions ready. All right, next up is privilege of the floor for agenda items. Anybody wishes to speak about agenda items only? Nothing? Okay. There's no consent. We'll move on to resolutions.
Just the resolves?
Yeah, I got it, but not too many. So the first one's going to be the budget. 9266.
Yes, sir.
So the first resolution tonight will be the resolution of budget modification of 2024 DA Fund Adopted Budget Highway, ID number 9266. Whereas the town is obligated by the general municipal law to maintain a balanced budget in the governmental funds and the priority funds, and whereas the highway superintendent has requested a budget modification to increase the budget lines due to insurance recoveries due to the 12724 highway garage fire, which are to recover the cost of restoring, cleaning the highway vehicles, and whereas the controller recommends the budget modifications to increase highway townwide insurance recoveries revenue line on David Adam 12204.2680 by $15,431.49 and increase the expenditure line that David Adam 51305.041431 highway townwide machinery expenditures equipment repairs by $15,031.49, and whereas the town board has considered the proposal budget modification and submitted by the controller and deems it in the best interest of the town to make this modification, now therefore be resolved, the town board of the town of Fishkill hereby amends the 2024 David Adam Highway Fund adopted budget as stated herein. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next one is resolution to award contract for the Brickerhoff Water Main Interconnection Project, ID number 9262. Whereas resolution 2023-191 dated July 19th, 2023, authorized the town official to advertise for proposals for the request for proposal, RFP 2022-02, Merit Water Interconnection Project, and whereas the bids were opened on February 29th, 2024, and whereas 6 qualified bidders provided the bids, Sunup Construction for $746,000, TAM Enterprise for $858,000, Bensacone $981,000, Legacy $988,000, Contech $1.1 and Northbrook for $1,090,000. Whereas the town's engineer informed CPL and the town's project facilitators Joseph DeFrancisco and Paul Bozek have reviewed the contents of each of the bids received and have determined that the low bidder, Sunup Construction, is the most responsible and best qualified bidder for the project, whereas accordingly CPL and the project facilitators recommended the town award the contract for Merit Water Interconnection Project to Sunup Construction and Corporation. Now therefore be resolved, the town board of the town of Fishkill hereby awards to Sunup Construction Corporation the amount of $764,200, and be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to sign and execute all necessary documents to enter into the contract with Sunup Corporation for a public works project referenced herein, subject to the approval of the town attorney. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is even better. So we went from 5.6 million to 1.2 budgeted, and we got this down to 764. So that's what, a $430,000 savings?
That's very good.
That's pretty darn good, guys, and no cost to taxpayers.
$4.9 million.
No, not 9 million.
No, 4.9 million.
Oh, overall from the
Yeah,
top.
5.6 to 760,000 is 4.9 million.
No cost to taxpayers. Thank you, town board members. Next one up is a resolution to approve consultant agreement with Classified Consulting, Inc., Be it resolved that the Town Board of Town of Fishkill hereby approves the terms of the consultant agreement with the classified consultant Inc. dated March 20th, 2024, and authorize the town supervisor to execute an agreement on behalf of the town as prescribed, as presented to the board at this meeting. I'll present this motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Let me see what else we got here. We have no items for special consideration. New and old business. Greg?
I have none this evening.
John?
Yeah, one quick one on old business. Friday night, I was with the chief of the Roundabout Fire District when a call came in for a very serious accident at the intersection of Route 9 and 84. Multiple injuries. I asked him recently, because I haven't seen him since, about response times. And his quote was, for EMS, very poor. First ambulance got there probably 5 minutes after he arrived, and he was coming from Dutchess Park. And the second unit took at least 12 to 15 minutes after that. So, you know, we have met with, you know, Nazi, you weren't on these meetings, EMS, Empress, and ambulance, and we went through that all last year. But we, you know, we have to think about how we want to go forward with our emergency response with the ambulances. So,
John, I may actually have some good news there. The state Senate's one-house budget bill includes provisions which, if incorporated into the final budget, which the state will adopt later this spring, would designate EMS as an essential service and would also establish guidelines for the establishment of a statewide EMS plan and provide a network, I don't want to say network, a framework to provide funding to these districts, which might make it possible either for new districts to emerge or for either volunteer ambulance corps to provide, exactly, to expand their range of service, or maybe volunteer organizations may still struggle from a staffing standpoint, but from a professional standpoint, we may see new companies emerge or expand.
So that budget is to be adopted by April 1, and we know it can go a little further than that.
Right.
But depending on what goes on with the state budget, we are going to have to maneuver if we want to improve our
Right. So it is just something to consider that we might wish to convey to our electeds at the state level. I do know that Senator Rollison voted against the one-house budget at the state Senate level. Now, I'm sure that the EMS funding is not the reason why, but it might be worth reaching out from an advocacy standpoint just to see if we can try and get those EMS designations included in negotiations from a state budget standpoint, because they're at the point now where the Assembly, the Senate, and the governor all have to get together and find something between their three budgets that they can all agree on.
That's all I have.
Isn't the county going to have 6 chase cars?
Yeah, but it's not.
That hasn't passed yet? Has that passed?
I don't know. I don't know.
They broke the county into 6 zones where they're going to put 1 car in each zone, and okay. Joe, I'm going to follow up on that county ambulance coverage. Brian?
Yeah.
New or old?
Nothing. I do have a couple items for next meeting, but not now.
Mr. Gaba, can we ask the state for a home rule to allow our patrolmen who didn't take a police officer exam to be eligible to take the sergeant's exam?
I don't know. That's really more of a Julie question than a Steve question. What you're gonna want to
well, we would have to do a home rule type of thing.
You can always make a home rule request. I don't know if what you're asking is something that can be done.
Well, that's why you do a home rule if you can't do it.
I suppose. I've never heard of it. You can always make a home rule request. Whether it's practical to get it passed or not, I can't tell you. I don't know.
Okay. So that'd be a Julie question.
Well, if she says it's doable and it's, something that's got precedent for it, then of course a home rule request is easy enough. You send the letters off to your state representatives. They send you the forms to ask for to be introduced and so forth and so on.
Julie, ask Julie that question. My last thing, you guys okay with me if we have extra money to look into Henry Street? Can I freelance that?
Henry Street for what?
Or what?
They need a water line. There's like 7 homes, and they get their water from the city of Beacon, but nobody owns the water lines. It's one of those type of situations.
And the infrastructure there is suffering.
Just to freelance it.
Yeah. I mean, just to, you're gonna come back with a number, right?
Yeah.
Well, sure. Look into it.
Yeah, get a quote.
Listen, if it costs $100,000 to do it, maybe we do 50, and maybe we have the homeowners pay the other 50, something like
You're
that.
talking about a water line that's dilapidated or something?
Yeah, they've been getting water main breaks for a long time. They've been coming to the board meetings for like 20 years complaining, and they get their water from the city of Beacon.
And nobody owns it?
Exactly. Nobody owns the line. So, and there's another big problem with that down in Dutchess Junction, but there's one development, the trailer park, owns most of the water, and they're not going to put up millions to create a water district.
Can we look at the numbers?
So these are problems in the past.
Let's look at the numbers first, but I'm obviously.
Just be open to it. Because
I'm very open.
we might not have the money to do it, but
Let's take
these
a
are
look
some.
at the numbers, yeah.
Perfect.
Pass that, email that around so we can take a look.
Okay, water, okay. So we got Henry, Geoparty, P. Heights. Next town board meeting is when, Madam Clerk?
April 3rd? April 3rd.
April 3rd. There's no executive session.
No, can we do one for 5 minutes?
Yeah, I was going to request one as well.
Oh, are you kidding me?
I am not.
I'll have to make a motion.
Motion to go into executive.
Do you have a
Well,
second?
For what reason?
What for?
To discuss a personal employment.
Personnel matter.
Personnel?
Personnel.
Do you have the same
Yeah,
personnel?
same. Yeah. We may have the same request. I don't know. I didn't speak with Brian about this. Consider me a second.
Roll call vote. It's up to you, John.
Yeah.
Ah, you're killing me. Okay.
All right, let's do it.
So make a motion to go in executive session. Can I get a
moved and
second?
Seconded.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And there'll be no business afterwards, so thank you all for watching. Good night.